And there we go, everyone. We are back again for another fantastic conversation on Friday Night Counter Attack. The boys are back. Two boys of the podcast who I haven't had for a while now, and I'm glad we've got both of them back. Both of them haven't been on the podcast together, but it's a great partnership I'm looking at seeing. Just like I want to see Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, and Bukayo Saka strike up an elite partnership at Euro 2024 this summer. It's a good summer's hot day. We've got the Premier League winding down, and we are winding down today by talking about the top 10 Premier League transfers of the season. Now, a lot of you are thinking, a lot of people talk about transfers when they're actually signed. They are actually signed and then talked about within the first month, second month. But we're coming to the end of the season. We can review them strategically, have our scouting caps on as I normally do, have our fan caps on as we normally do, and we can have our editorial caps on. Well, I can't do it, but the good old Mr. Anthony Hay can do it as well. So, Anthony Hay, it's good to have you back on the podcast again, my friend. How are you doing this season? Not so much from a Man United perspective, but in terms of just your mental well-being of being a football fan and involved in football media as well. How's it going for you, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks for having me on again, Hamza. Shouldn't it be called Thursday night counter attack tonight
For
rather than
God's
Friday?
sake, stop leaking. Stop leaking the time that we record our podcast because people need to know the magic of the industry. We record it straight away and we put it straight out there. We don't.
Yeah,
We
it's live.
definitely
It's a
don't.
live show, isn't it?
It's a live show. By the way, everyone listening, just so Anthony's leaked it, this is coming out in 2 weeks' time as well. This is coming out when I'm on holiday. So I'm not even going to be here, but I'm going to be listening to this abroad. And it'll be like, oh, yeah, this was a good time to record it. But it's a good topic of conversation. But thank you, Anthony, for leaking the trades of the secret.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we
It's
won't
okay.
speak
It's all
about
good.
Man United, but we can speak about the Premier League as a whole because this season's been dire. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this episode. Should be a good one.
It should be a good one. And I needed someone who was good at lists and good at structure as well. Someone who is also good at structure, not so much at lists, is my good friend from, I was going to say from the Cookie podcast, but you're not from the Cookie podcast. You represent the Cookie podcast. I was also going to say from Miami, but you're also not from Miami. It's just because we met in Miami. And I like bigging that up to everyone on an audio file as well. But yeah, before I introduce anyone else in the wrong way, I'm going to introduce my friend Lewis from the Cookie Podcast, who I met in Miami. My vocabulary is recovering, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. But Lewis, good to have you back on the podcast again, my friend. Great work over the season on the Cookie Podcast from what I've been following vigorously as well. Fantastic work. How are you doing this week?
Doing very well. First and foremost, thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to be asked to join you guys for a lovely football conversation. And yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what everyone says for our list that are up and coming.
Yeah, it's a very singular way of doing this podcast because we are going to do so when we do lists, which isn't very often, we normally do a joint list. So we always have to agree and we always have to disagree. But because Anthony Hay is on the podcast today, I thought, you know what? Let's listen to the one who's actually experienced in writing lists for national newspapers as well. And I thought, you know what? Let's do our own individual lists. Definitely didn't steal that from Anthony, and I definitely didn't steal that from everyone else who makes their own list as well. And also, it's going to be a controversial conversation, to say the least, as well. So, how it's going to run for everyone listening on our podcast is, as always, follow along at home, make your own list, comment on our social medias, just mind the racial abuse because we've been getting a lot of that, and it's not been pleasant from our side as well. A couple of bans and a couple of funny comments here, there, and everywhere. But at the end of the day, stay away from racism. It isn't good. We're going to go from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 5. And then before we get to 5, sorry, just going to have a break. And then we're going to be just reviewing our choices. And then we're going to be talking about the honourable mentions before we get to our 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Just so everyone knows and they can follow exactly what we're doing along our podcast as well. So without further ado, everyone, top 10 Premier League signings of the summer as of match day 34. Again, this is coming out in 2 weeks, so the Premier League could have been sewn up by then. But this is what I'm thinking about at this time of speaking. This is what Lewis and Anthony are thinking about at this time of speaking. Don't hate us. Fire away, Lewis. Who's at number 10 for you on your list?
Yeah, so for me, coming in at number 10 is Jeremy Doku. So he's fresh from joining from Stade Rennes in France, where he played some really good football. He's a winger that I feel like Man City don't have another one like him, to be honest with you, in terms of he's direct, he's fearless. He could lose the ball 9 times, and then that 10th time he'll take someone on and set someone up, and it'll just be a beautiful goal. And that's what you want in your winger, or more should I say, that's what I want in my winger. The fact that he continuously will take people on. His final ball isn't De Bruyne-esque, but whose is at this point? And I just think it's a very savvy signing. I know it's 60 million euros, and that might seem like a lot, but for someone who is of that quality and pace, and under Guardiola, who's definitely going to polish him up and make him more refined with that final ball, I just think it's a very good signing. So yeah, Jeremy Doku for number 10 for me. And just to recap his stats for the season, he's got 12 goals and 8 assists in all competitions. So
Jeez.
yeah, not bad, not bad.
Can't be worrying about Jeremy Doku when you got Jack Grealish on the wing. But then again, when they both play, I think they're double trouble as well. It's just about if Jeremy Doku can settle on the right wing as much as he can on the left wing, where he gets to cut inside and take on a player on the outside and on the inside as well, which is what is done really, really well, frustrating so many defenses across the Premier League. Nicely done there with Jeremy Doku. Anthony, number 10, where are you going with your one at number 10?
So my one might come as a bit of a shock, but I'm going for a Nottingham Forest player, and it's a striker, and it's Chris Wood.
Oh, okay. Elaborate.
So he makes my top 10 just because he's got 12 Premier League goals. Without him, Forest would be probably relegated by now because he's been such an important figurehead for them up front. And I just think he's added so much to them in terms of goals and just the all-round play. So I know he's a bit of a journeyman. He's been at Newcastle, he's been at other Premier League teams, but I think he's made a big difference this season. He's not that good on the eye, maybe, but he's just that journeyman who will get you a goal when you need it, and he'll get you that winning goal, and he might even keep them up. So for me, he makes my top 10 in number 10th. So
come on,
yeah.
the obvious question I've got here, I'm sure Lewis will want to know as well. Do you think he actually match fixed that game against Manchester City with those two really clear-cut chances in the 6-yard box on either side of the pitch from the first half and the second half, Anthony? Let me hear your thoughts.
I couldn't comment on that. Nah. I just think sometimes he gets his head in a bit of a twist and he can't sort his feet out, or he can't quite get there because he's not elite. But I think for this season, he's got to make my top 10.
No, that's fair enough. Nicely done, and great comment there regarding Chris Wood as well, saving yourself any backlash from Nottingham Forest fans as well, which is fantastic. My number 10 for me. Oh no. I know we before the podcast we did agree. We went for players who for everyone who doesn't know, we went for players who were signed before this season and came into the club this season, but they weren't playing at the end of last season, if that makes sense. So without further ado, I've got to go for someone who, yeah, I don't know if I can put him in 10, but I need him in the list. So I'm going to do it for the sake of it, mostly because as we do with our list, we make it personal. We make it a bit about ourselves and what we've appreciated. And we're not really trying to appease to a wider audience, unless it's Anthony as well, because he's got a reputation at Swap Pod as well, which is great. And he knows we'll be posting it on social media. I'm waffling. I shouldn't be waffling at all. Josko Gvardiol, number 10. I'm going to go for you at number 10. I think he's been a fantastic player for Manchester City. His transfer value went down, of course, in the World Cup semi-final after getting dunked on by Lionel Messi, which is, well, anyone can get dunked on by Lionel Messi, for goodness sake. But the fact of the matter is, I think he's had a very good start to the season, in and out of the team. And the thing I like about Josko Gvardiol, not just because of his last couple of goals, which have been fantastic, it's the fact that every single time when Manchester City sign a player and they're in and out of the team, they're sometimes out for 2-3 games, they're sometimes benched, and they're sometimes starting 3-4 games. Everyone then goes to them. They go, oh, yeah, here's a flop. He's going to be a flop. He's not going to work well in this system. And then you see the second season. And then you see them absolutely flourishing. We've seen it with Bernardo Silva. We've seen it previously with Jack Grealish. We're going to see it, I reckon, with Jeremy Doku, like Lewis said, and with Josko Gvardiol. I think they're going to be the players that will be taking that left-hand side forward for years to come for Manchester City, well beyond when Pep Guardiola leaves Manchester City. Hopefully he leaves Manchester City as well. But I think that's something where even Jack Grealish could be forced out of the club because the competition will be growing with Jeremy Doku. And for me, maybe even Nathan Ake moving out of that position as well for within a year or two, because Josko Gvardiol, 21 years of age, I believe is going to be someone who's going to be a star for Manchester City from the back as well. John Stones is nearly 30 years old as well. So they're replacing their players really, really well with some top talent across European football as well. So Gvardiol, you're in at number 10 for me. Nicely done.
Just quickly, what was the price tag again? Was it 90 million, 100 mil?
It was like, yeah, it was about 80, 90 million.
Is
Something like that,
80 million, yeah, wasn't it? Which is quite good.
It was a lot.
It's a price tag.
One of the biggest price tags in defenders for history as well. But I think he's going to settle in really, really well. But yes, 75 million. No, 90 million euros. 90 million euros. Yeah. So it's in euros. But yeah, 2 goals and 1 assist in 24 Premier League games this season. But my question to both of you, when you're looking at Josko Gvardiol, Lewis, you first, and then Anthony. When you're looking at Josko Gvardiol, do you think he's going to be one of the best centre backs for Manchester City going forward? Because I certainly think so. I think he's got all the talent in the world. It's just about his mindset for me. If he can continue to do it year in, year out, do you think he has that longevity, like we've seen Kyle Walker from the right hand side at Man City from 2018, 2017, I should say, to 2024, been a captain now for Manchester City? What do you think, Lewis?
I'd say potentially if he ever gets to play there, because every time I've watched him, he's been at left back. So I think he suffered from Pep's tactics this season. But yeah, I don't see why not. Like you said, with John Stones' age, I think Ruben Diaz also is excellent for Man City when he plays. So it'll be hard him even getting in there if both of them are fit. But obviously, we know John Stones is susceptible to an injury. Top knock on wood with the Euros coming up. We don't need any of that. So yeah, John Stones and Gvardiol maybe, but I just think that he suffers tactically from Pep. So this season, I've not seen enough of him to probably give a concrete answer on him as a centre half. But speaking from the Euros, he was excellent there for Croatia. Really, really good at centre back there. So yeah, I don't see why not. And him playing at left back will probably only improve him as a centre half because it'll appreciate what the left back requires from a centre half going forward. And I know Levi Colwill said that earlier on in the season when he had to play there quite a lot. So yeah, I think he's definitely got a lot of potential. And obviously, Leipzig have got quite a big fee for him there. But you've just got to hope that Pep gives him some reps back there and doesn't use him as like a makeshift left back. But even if he is a flop, winning covers over all price tags like that. So yeah.
Unless you're Calvin Phillips, then your flop stinks across football. You're seeing him this season, one of the worst signings I've seen. Incredible. Yeah. Getting abused from his own fans, getting fat shamed, and then abusing his own fans as well. That was embarrassing. I hope no one's picked Calvin Phillips in their top 10 signings for the season as well. Anthony, let me hear your thoughts on Josko Gvardiol before we get on to your number 9 as well.
Yeah, the only problem I think is that Diaz obviously plays in that left centre back slot. So I think it will be quite hard for him to usurp Diaz because Diaz is probably a future Man City captain. So it's whether he can maybe play as a right centre back, but then that kind of unbalances their back four. So he might have to just hold down that left back position because I know Pep likes to rotate it quite a lot. He might have to play there for the time being until Diaz pushes on or goes somewhere else. So it might be quite tough for him, but judging by the fee that they've paid for him, they've got to find a way for him to fit into that team.
Maybe you could have that John Stones role where he gets into that midfield next to Rodri as well, and he can play a lot of deep lying passes going forward. So that could be an option with Josko Gvardiol once again. But that was everyone's number 10. Anthony, share with us your number 9. Who have you got?
Okay, so because Man United's had a really bad season, Palace are obviously my second team, being from South London. So I've gone for.
You sure you're allowed to say that on record?
Yeah, I'm allowed to say that one. I've said it before, so it's out there already.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, I follow Palace quite closely. And can we include January signings? I think we can, can't we?
Of course we can. Of course we can.
So I'm going for.
You made the rules for us. I was following your rules.
I'm going for Adam Wharton.
Nice.
He obviously joined in January. I think he cost 22 million from Blackburn, but he's come in and he had a bit of a shaky debut. I think it was against Brighton when they got hammered at Brighton.
Yes.
But since then, I've been speaking to all my Palace mates, and from what I've seen as well, he's been quality. He's really good on the ball. He's taken to the Premier League like a duck out of water. Like, it's just been so smooth, and he's one of the first names on their team sheet now. And he hasn't really put a foot wrong. And he's even pushing for that England squad. I know he's been in the under-21s, and people are comparing him to Mainoo. I think Mainoo's a different level for now, but I think Wharton, he's one to keep an eye on, and he's another good buy from Palace, who seem to have this nick of going into the Championship and picking out the best talent because they've had Eze, Elise, and now Wharton. So, yeah, he makes it as my number 9.
What I loved about Adam Wharton personally is the fact I saw him in the Blackburn Rovers versus Newcastle United FA Cup game, and then a couple of days later, that's when he moved to Crystal Palace. And I'm thinking, this guy just had a really good game against the Premier League side, and he held his own, leading the team in the midfield. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But his technical ability is sound, and we're saying that a lot about a lot of these younger centre midfielders, where normally we'd say that around 25, 26, if we're talking about 10 years ago. But the technicality is right there for Adam Wharton. I think he's got the sky as his limit, and I think with Glasgow as the new manager, playing this 3-4-3 system, he's got a lot of freedom to find out more attacking runners from the wing as well. You've got Elise back in fitness, Eze back in fitness as well. It's going to be good to see how Adam Morton develops at Crystal Palace. So that's a really good shout there as well. Adam Morton at number 9. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to spoil it as well. Lewis, number 9. Where are you going with your one?
Yeah, just before I say about my number 9, more teams should shop in the Championship because there's some absolute gems in there. And another quick example of that is Gyökeres that's balling out for Lisbon at the minute. He was playing at Coventry City last season. So yeah, first and foremost, more teams should shop in the Championship. More big teams, definitely.
Isn't it, the fact that Jude Bellingham was signed from Birmingham City should have been an answer for a lot of Premier League clubs to be shopping in the Championship, but they hadn't learned their lesson enough in what I've seen. And Victor Gyökeres as well, top scorer right now in European football with his amazing Hannibal Lecter mask as well. I was lucky enough to see him earlier this season for Sweden against Austria, but he's playing up front with Alexander Isak in a 4-4-2, and he wasn't finishing his chances as he has been doing for Sporting Lisbon and like he did last season for Coventry City. He's got a very good mixture of Alan Shearer and maybe a bit of Darwin Núñez about him. The fact that he can hold up the ball, but he's not as physical as he can be, in my opinion, as well. But he's got a really good finish on him as well in the Portuguese league, in the Primeira Liga. Good shout there, Lewis. Who's your number 9?
Yeah, so very on topic with what we was just saying then about people shopping in the Championship. And this player has come from the Championship in January, just like Adam Wharton. It is Morgan Rogers to Aston Villa. I think this kid is phenomenal. Again, when you talk about like fearless wingers, when I did with Doku, just fantastic. His confidence is ridiculous. He's scored 3 goals, 1 assist in 10 games in the league, and he's just give Aston Villa a little bit of a second wind and a little bit of a jolt. Where if you compare him to Moussa Diaby and Leon Bailey, it's only him and Bailey that have really done anything out wide. Moussa Diaby cost £60 million in the summer, and he's done nothing. He doesn't even get a game anymore.
Watch yourself here. Watch yourself here. Diaby is my boy. He is my boy. I love him to bits. He made himself into the French squad for the first time this season. He's been absolutely fantastic. In terms of output and results, probably not as much as Rogers, but I think he gets diluted in terms of how Leon Bailey is playing in his position, and Diaby's been playing as a striker as opposed to being a winger as well. And remember, it's Diaby's first time in English football this season as well. But I will give you that in terms of Rogers has been like a house on fire, because with Rogers as well, got to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, I think 4th round of the FA Cup as well, if I remember correctly, with Middlesbrough. And he was shining in those domestic competitions, so much so that Aston Villa were like, you know what, we've got to invest in this player as well. Because I think they played against Middlesbrough in the Championship, if I'm right, Lewis. No, in the FA Cup, sorry. It was at the Riverside Stadium. I think it was
Carabao. We played them in the semi-final of the Carabao over 2 legs.
That was it. Yeah. Chelsea played them.
We got beat in the first leg, actually.
You had Rogers. I think you had Elliot Hackney had a really good game as well, the centre midfielder there.
Morgan Rogers, honestly, I just think it's a really good business. We know his quality. He's come from the Man City Academy. He's in the same youth team from Cole Palmer, Brahim Diaz, Rico Lewis. Like we just know what you're going to get with a Man City Academy graduate.
Phil Foden.
I feel like I just feel like he looks after the ball, and yeah, for him to literally just come and just take the Villa team and be like, no, this is my position now. Even when Bailey's been playing well, like Leon Bailey's had a really good season, but he's just come in and gone, no, that's mine. So yeah, Morgan Rogers, really good business again, and yeah, very topical with us talking about buying in the Championship.
Nah, it's good. I like it. Great conversation there as well. And again, we're all 3 different opinions for this one as well. I'm going for, in my opinion, one of the best free transfers of the season. And I don't want to put him so low in this one as well, but I have to put him in my list nevertheless. Ross Barkley, welcome to number 9 for me. I'm putting you in this list as a free transfer for Luton. 5 goals and 4 assists. I've been, if you follow the podcast, if you listen to what we say, even if we post it on social media, I'm a big fan of Ross Barkley. I'm a big fan of his redemption story. I'm a big fan of the fact that England lack a lot of technically sound players on the ball. I'm a big fan of the fact that Gareth Southgate should take a wild card pick and take Ross Barkley to the Euros ahead of certain other centre midfielders. Jordan Henderson, not even starting for Ajax for over the last couple of weeks as well. He may be injured, but he's still not starting when it's fit. Ross Barkley, I think, has been absolutely fantastic. The fact that he's come back from football wilderness, playing for Nice, not so much for you, Lewis, because I know you're a big fan of French football, respectively. But I want to hear your thoughts, both from Anthony and from First Lewis as well, because Lewis being a Chelsea fan. What was it like for you seeing Ross Barkley come back from a loan spell at Aston Villa to playing at Nice, to come into the Premier League, and people are like, oh yeah, Andros Townsend, Ross Barkley, they're at Luton Town. Luton Town are going to get relegated, and they still might get relegated, but they've given a hell of a fight. And I think a lot of that fight has come from Ross Barkley in the engine room in the midfield.
It's just great to see. I mean, especially when a young player with so much promise doesn't really get to the level that a lot of people put on them, and whether that's realistic or not is a different question. And I just think for someone whose ceiling was so high in the past, it's just really good to see him playing in the Premier League, but experiencing the grind as well. He could have just stayed at Nice and been like, yeah, it's tax free. I can live here in the south of France. I've won a few trophies. I've won, yeah, I'm all right. I've had a few England caps. I've played at a
Better
World
weather
Cup.
than Luton as well. Better surroundings too.
But that's why I respect it as well, because Barkley, he's gone, nah, you know what? I'm just going to take a gamble on a team that's only spent £5 million. And I think that was a marvellous Nakamba, by the way, from Aston Villa. And they've just dealt in loans and frees, really. And yeah, credit to Luton. And I love seeing Barkley doing this at this level. And long may it continue. And I do hope they stay up. And he'll be no short of suitors if Luton go down. I genuinely think a big top six club could definitely go and pick him up. I wouldn't be surprised if Man United or like a Spurs or someone like that picked him up just as an England player, for example. He ticks a box, and let's be honest, he's better than Christian Eriksen. So yeah, big up, bro.
Better than Eriksen, is better than Casemiro this season. I mean, Eriksen looks like he's mentally checked out of Manchester United, and you kind of don't blame him as well. We've played him out of position his entire time of being at Manchester United. We've overplayed him in certain positions where he shouldn't be. Anthony, let me hear your thoughts on Ross Barkley, and agreeing with Lewis's point as well. Do you think he's good enough to be playing for a top six club next season as his contract runs out?
I'd definitely say a top 10 team. And if he is, has he got one more year left, or is he on a free this summer? Because I think
he's on a free this summer.
Is he definitely on a free?
Yeah,
I think someone like Man United will definitely be in for him, because as you said, he can replace Eriksen.
Worked under Sir Jim Radcliffe as well.
Yeah. So Brailsford obviously knows him quite well. So you could see that happening. I was actually going to ask you, Hamza, would you take him at Man United this summer?
I would. Yeah, I'd take him, and I'd take Tosin Adarabioyo, 2 free transfers when we're looking to rebuild the squad. I think they're 2 top English talents that we've got to bring in.
And just for Barkley as well, I think it's so good that he's been able to shine away from Everton, because I think it's so hard to play for your boyhood club. Like, you can see it with Rashford, it just goes onto your shoulders and you can't perform. And the Chelsea move was a disaster for him. So it's good that he's rebuilt his career, and he's still, he must be, is he under 30 or is he 30? So
he's 30 now, yeah.
Yeah, so he's still got time on his side. So yeah, hopefully he gets a good move this summer.
Absolutely. Nicely done there, everyone, with their number 9s as well. Number 8, Lewis, let's hear your thoughts. Where have you gone to with number 8?
Yes, so we're not too far from Luton. We're moving over to the East End of London. We're going to go Eddson Alvarez. So I just think, again, this is such shrewd business from West Ham, where it was widely reported that David Moyes really didn't want him, because at the time it was either him or Ward.
Wait, what? What?
Yeah, so the big thing was Moyes wanted British-based players, and Ward-Prowse at the time, it was Ward-Prowse or Alvarez at the time. And then
okay.
Rice ended up going, and then it was like, oh no, we can get both, because they've recently employed a sporting director where now he's actually calling the shots. And it was Mark Noble, actually, who went to David Moyes and said, no, I've been and watched this guy for Ajax in person so many times. We need him. And it genuinely shows. He's played 40 games for the Irons across all competitions, been pivotal up until they went out to one of the best sides we've seen in years by Leverkusen. So yeah, very good signing. I think he'll definitely use West Ham as a stepping stone club to either one of the bigger clubs in Europe or definitely one of the bigger clubs in the Premier League, because physically he's adapted like a duck to water. Yeah.
Do ducks adapt like that when they go out? Do they adapt when they go out of water? I'm trying to think now as well. So it's a very odd way that
they can walk.
They can walk. Can they fly as well? They can fly out of water.
They can fly a bit, like a flamingo, like a little bit.
So they can fly, they can swim, and they can walk. That's crazy adaptation from the duck. That's crazy. That's a crazy. I don't know why I'm deep in this. Like, I'm high on what am I drinking today? Ginger beer and apple juice mixed together. Shouldn't be revealing my concoctions, but yeah, yeah, literally my non-alcoholic beverages like I like to have on the podcast as well. But no, I love that analogy.
Ginger beer and apple juice.
Ginger beer and apple juice, yeah.
I've never had that before. I'll have to give it a go.
Yeah, it's one of those that when I've got a bad sore throat, I need to have ginger and I need to have a bit of juice as well. So I mix it together, which is a bit of a fun one as well. But nah, sorry, Alvarez, we're distracting from what you've done in the season regarding my drinks. But yeah, great choice there for number 8. Anthony, where did you go for number 8?
So I'm going from East London to North London, and
Ooh,
I'm going for, maybe he's a bit low on my list, but it's already been penned in. So I'm going to go James Maddison. And
okay.
not just because of this season, but I'm looking at it as a whole as well. I think, was he 40 million in the
40
summer?
million pounds, yeah.
I think he'll repay that easily for Tottenham. I know, obviously, Leicester went down, so the fee wasn't as big as it should be, but I think he's going to be a top-class player for them. I think he's mid-20s, maybe 24, 25. He's got 4 goals. How many assists has he got? I think he's got about 7 assists in the Premier League alone. So I think he's going to be one of the best number 10s in the Premier League for the next 2-3 seasons. And yeah, he's pushed on the door to become an England regular as well. I know he's got like Grealish and Foden, Saka ahead of him, but I think he should make the squad, even though he's had a bit of a dip recently.
It's the
So
dip that has been injured as well. He's missed 3 months of the season. So it's been very big for James Maddison. Like I've always said, and Lewis, you'll hate me saying this term to you all the time, but availability is the best ability. And we're talking about someone who's always injured, and it's really not great because whenever he's coming back from injury, annoyingly, it takes a game or two to get back into the swing of things. And on the North London derby last weekend as well, he just looked like a ghost of his prime of himself that we've seen earlier this season when they won 10 games in a row when he was absolutely thriving. But I think for 40 million pounds, you can't go wrong there with James Maddison as well.
Did you guys see the tweets from any of the Leicester fans to say to the Spurs fans, you finally experienced the 3 U's of Maddison, and it's unbelievable in the first third of the season, unavailable for the second half, and unreliable for the third half?
I've not seen that at all, but I'm glad you told that to us as well. That's a great line as well.
Like, it's the famous
U's.
James Maddison cycle, as the Leicester fans put it to me.
Oh no, that's mad. That's really, really good as well. But James Maddison as well. That's why I'm not so sure if he's even going to make the England side as well. Because if he does get injured in June, for example, maybe a warm-up game as well, you can't rely upon him, and you wouldn't want to keep him around the squad for the quality of players that we could be leaving back at home as well. I mean, there are rumors at this moment in time that the European Championship squads could be moving from 23 to 26 men squad. So that could be an option moving forward down the line as well. I'm definitely not putting Jadon Sancho in as a replacement, not after with just 1 game in the Bundesliga. And I know he scored against Leipzig. It's a great goal against Leipzig on the weekend, but it's not been great from what I've seen this season as well. Right then, number 8 for me. We're off to the Midlands. We're off to the West Midlands. I think it's my first time visiting there. I should really visit there soon. Should go see my parents, but we're not going to Walsall. We're actually going down the M6 and we're going to Villa Park, and we're going to go to not their winger, Lewis, not going for their winger. We're going for their centre-back, Pau Torres, who has been a revelation this season. And just so you both know, and so our audience know as well, I'm only putting Pau Torres this low because Salim, as you know, our resident Aston Villa co-host, hasn't been on for a few weeks. So I always tell Salim, I'm like, whenever you're free, we'll talk about Aston Villa, and it never seems to be free. So I'm like, you know what? Your reputation that you built on Friday Night Counter-Attack is going to be trounced when Aston Villa get into the Champions League because I'm going to ruin it from our perspective. So Pau Torres is only going in at 8 this season. I think it's been absolutely fantastic. He's looking like he's already taken over Aymeric Laporte as the number 1 centre-back for Spanish football from the left-hand side, except for the last international break where he was left out of the squad, which was very worrying to see. 27 years of age, 2 goals already in this season in the Premier League. Adapted so well to English football from Spanish football. Won the Europa League a couple seasons ago with Villarreal on penalties against Manchester United, but a fantastic player nevertheless as well. I thought he would have been a really good replacement for someone like Victor Lindelof if we were to have sold him a couple years ago, but we haven't. I think he's a really good ball playing centre back. And the fact of the matter is, he's got a lot of quality about him where I think he could have gone for a bigger club besides Aston Villa. But he followed his heart and he followed his manager in terms of thinking, you know what, this manager does get the best out of me. So let me stick to my guns and stick to work with Unai Emery. And Pau Torres has done that abundantly. What a signing. I think it was around 30, 40 million pounds. I'll have to double check this before we move on, but around 30, 40 million pounds, a really good signing from Aston Villa. And they're looking at building a very, very strong team that we should be watching out for years to come as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pau Torres is at number 8 for me.
Do you remember we were linked with him as well, Hamza, Man United?
We're linked with every goddamn person. It's crazy. We'll play against them, Anthony. You know the cycle. We'll play against them, and then we'll be linked with them because they have a good game. The time when Wolves beat Man United 1-0 at Old Trafford, João Moutinho, we were then linked with Ruben Neves. Oh yeah, Ralph Rangnick wants Ruben Neves, and then he just goes off to Saudi Arabia. But it would have been so good. And I think with the new boardroom staff that we've got coming in, it's got to be a one and done deal with a lot of these players now. We can't be dragging it over the summer. We can't be pondering, oh, is this the right player? This shouldn't be the right player. Even just like as Lewis said earlier, they can't be pondering over one or two. They need a technical director or maybe a Mark Noble, an ex-player to go in and go, no, you have to get this player. He is the one for this team. And maybe we need that in the summer as opposed to overplaying for certain players that we shouldn't be as well. But yeah, number 8, Pau Torres for me. Anthony, number 7 for you. Where are you going? Have you picked a number 7 at number 7?
Yeah, no, not a number 7, but I'm going to West Ham for this one, and I'm going for Mohammed Kudus.
Mohammed Kudus at number 7.
Yep. So an Ajax player who Ten Hag didn't buy, who he should have bought over some of the other rubbish he's brought in.
I hate this narrative so much. I hate it because it's just like, first of all, it was right there in his grasp when he was leaving. But remember, Mohammed Kudus barely played under Eddson Alvarez. If I remember, he was only there for a season. And then you had Anthony ahead of him. I think you had David Neres a season.
It should only take a season. It should take a couple of training sessions to see that he's better than Anthony. But
it didn't work. It didn't work for Eddson Alvarez. He was like, no, I've got to go for these random players. And I'm just like, no. I've been a big fan of Mohammed Kudus. I should have posted a video I made about him the other day, actually. He's a fantastic player. I've said this season as well, he's one of the few mercurial players that we've seen in the Premier League in the last 5 years from this decade as well. Someone who can take the game by the scruff of the neck, play in different positions. And it looks like he's played like a street footballer once again. We saw at AFCON as well earlier this season how embarrassing the Ghanaian national side is. And it was worrying to see how Mohammed Kudus was trying to be like a fireman, trying to put out all the fires across the pitch when he couldn't do that. But West Ham, he's been doing that with someone who's been doing that all season in Jared Bowen, someone behind him in Lucas Paquetá as well, who's been fantastic as well. And it's got a real structure there at West Ham where a lot of fans are like, no, we should be doing better. We can be doing better. But Mohammed Kudus has been absolutely fantastic this season.
Yeah. 7 goals, 5 assists, and he's playing under Moyes, who's quite conservative. So be interesting to see West Ham get this summer because it seems like Moyes is obviously going to go. So if they get more of an attacking manager, then I think he'll even go to the next level. And then maybe the season after that, it'll go to one of the big 6 or he'll go to one of the big boys in Europe. So yeah, for me, he's in for number 7.
Definitely. The sky is the limit for Mohammed Kudus as well. Someone who copies Mohammed Kudus's celebration every weekend when he plays football is Lewis. Lewis, who's your number 7 on your list? Don't worry, I'm going to do that tonight at football as well. I'll just take a random seat after scoring. I'll be like, yeah, this is a good celebration. You're still on mute.
Apologies.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I think you'll both like my number 7. Definitely for the value for money, and 2 because he plays for a side that you both appreciate, and that's Jonny Evans.
Oh, I like that choice. Free transfer.
Gone under the radar. Like Hans just said then, free transfer. I think that the 19 league games he's played, imagine if United didn't have him for those 19 league games, they would have had to have played like Willy Kwambala a lot earlier. And let's say he gets injured, they would have been more exposed. And they would have been basically in the situation they're in now in January. So, yeah, I just think that he's plugged a lot of gaps. Very smart signing from United. And genuinely, if I'm Ten Hag or the next manager coming in, or even Ineos for that matter, I'm giving this man another year deal, 100%.
Not just filled a gap, he's overperformed a lot of these centre-backs as well. He's overperformed the likes of Victor Lindelof, dare I say Harry Maguire, dare I even say Rafael Varane. And with Lisandro Martinez, when you're looking at how he's meant to be our flagship, new, modern type of centre-back, when he's always injured and he gets played way too soon from coming back from injury as well. Jonny Evans coming, I think the epitome was when we played against Chelsea. Jonny Evans was injured. He still makes himself available for the bench. Then he gets subbed off because he can no longer visibly run, which goes to show the importance of what Manchester United means to him as well. So great shout there for your number 7 as Jonny Evans, which is fantastic. I'm sticking at centre-back for my number 7. We are in North London. We are not going to Enfield, where I'm from. I shouldn't be revealing my hometown location, but we're going to where a team trains in Enfield and they play near Enfield in Tottenham Hotspur. We are not going for an attacking player. We're going for a player who has been clocked as the fastest player in the Premier League for a defender. And we're going for Micky Van De Ven, my defender for number 7. And for me, And before I talk about how he's settled into the Premier League, like an absolutely fantastic player from Wolfsburg, from the Bundesliga, struck up a fantastic conversation with Christian Romero. You've got a Dutchman and you've got an Argentinian. There's always going to be fireworks there in that backline for you as well. It looks absolutely fantastic. Again, he's had a lot of injuries this season, 22 games and only 2 goals in the Premier League. But my question to you both, before we move on to our number 6 as well, you may not know the full answer to this, but do you think it's good enough to be starting in the back line for the Netherlands at the European Championships when you've got the likes of Virgil van Dijk, you've got Daley Blind, who's been shining for Girona this season in La Liga, Jurrien Timber coming back from injury, you've got Matthijs de Ligt from Bayern Munich, you've got Nathan Ake. There is a very good list of defensive players in a back five that Ronald Koeman likes to play for the Netherlands. Lewis, I'm going to start with you for this one.
I just think that a lot of the international teams at the minute, probably the wrong guys in charge of that talented bunch. And unfortunately got a plethora of defenders or centre halves, that's similar to England and right backs, really, where they're looking like they're all potentially on the cusp of being world class or definitely have the ceiling to be world class. Possibly change system, I would say. Maybe adapt it to what Pep's doing. Maybe play that 4 centre halves, especially with like Ake, who already does it, and Van Dijk's an intelligent enough defender to do that, to hold Van de Ven's hand, so to speak. And Van de Ven's probably fast enough to be a fullback anyway. So
Absolutely.
I think his ceiling's so high. Genuinely, I think it's a shrewd bit of business by Spurs. And yeah, unfortunately, it's for a team that I really despise. But yeah, great business nonetheless.
That's true. This is what happens.
I am. That's why I'm paid the big bucks.
This is what happens when you support a team in the Bundesliga and you're like, Wolfsburg, damn it, Wolfsburg, why'd you have to sell your best player, your best defender, to Spurs as well? Because there was a player, I think he still plays for them, Lacroix, who was a young French defender who was really good as a partner for Micky Van De Ven. I may have butchered his surname, Anthony, but when you're looking at some of the talents that come from the Bundesliga, before I ask you about the Netherlands question again, something for you both to think about as well. When you're looking at the talent that's come from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, over the last couple of years, they've settled in really, really well. But back to my original question, Anthony. What do you think of Micky Van De Ven making it into this Netherlands national side for the European Championships?
I think you have to find room for him just because of his pace. So he can deal with some of the top strikers who the Netherlands are likely to come up against, whether it's Mbappe, whether it's Kane or one of the other England wingers. So I think, as you said, you can play some of the other centre backs, either left back or right back. Like Timber can play right back, Blind and Ake can play left back. So I think he can play at the heart of the defence with Van Dijk for sure.
Yeah, I remember, because in the Netherlands group as well, they are going to be facing off against Kylian Mbappe. They've got France in their group, they've got Poland, and they've got Austria as well, who I watched, luckily, earlier this season. And they're a shrewd team. They're a very, very good team to watch, with acts of David Alaba, Marcel Sabitzer, Arnautovic, everyone's favourite Streets will never forget player as well, which is great. But no, great conversation there for everyone's number 7 as well. Right then, number 6, and we'll have a bit of players we forgot in our list, where we can admit who we have forgotten as well. Anthony, number 6, where are we going in the country? Where are we going in the Premier League for your number 6?
So I'm going for another Tottenham player, not Van de Ven, but Vicario.
Oh, I've gone for Vicario. You're going there, goalkeeper-wise.
Yeah, I thought I'd have a goalkeeper in my top 10. I think he's just been a shrewd signing. I can't remember how much he costs, but I don't think he was that much. Maybe, was he 13 million or something around there? I think he's come in, he's been a breath of fresh air in the Premier League, and he's just given them that confidence, which they didn't have. Well, they had with Lloris, but then he was aging. So I think he's been like a no-fuss signing. He came out of nowhere kind of thing from Italy, but yeah, he's been top class for them since coming in. And I thought I'd have a goalkeeper on my list, so I'm going for Vicario.
And adapted to the system, nevertheless, that Ange Postecoglou set up in the summer, which is great to see when a goalkeeper does straight away. Sometimes it doesn't work for teams, as both you and I, Lewis, know as well from our clubs, which is very worrying to see. Who's your number 6, Lewis? Where are you going?
Yeah, so this guy is this guy is a player for my own team, Chelsea, for that matter, if no one's clocked on by now.
Nice.
And it's Malo Gusto. So Malo Gusto, I was a player that I managed to see before he actually joined Chelsea for Lyon. He actually made his debut for Lyon against Kylian Mbappe, where he famously locked him down, and that's how he became a very quick fan favourite at Lyon. on his debut, or just at 17. So yeah, bought in as a cover right back for Reece James. Obviously, Reece James tears his hamstring very early on in the season. Gusto
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. But this guy's come in and it's made it look like Reece James hasn't even been away, if that makes sense. So he's been that good. He's just stepped in and just been plug and play. He's been excellent, Malo Gusto. And a lot of people would consider him their favourite defender in terms of how much his output is offensively and defensively. He works hard every week. He's played 33 games and for a cover right back. And there's even been discussion with Pochettino then, if James is fit, that James will play midfield just because he's playing that well at right back, Gusto. So, yeah, excellent signing. He's at Chelsea for a while, just like a lot of them are. And I just think that his ceiling's so high. He's only 20 years old as well, this kid. And yeah, he's really good 1-versus-1.
All I'm saying is Malo Gusto is someone who I've been raving about all season. I wanted him at Manchester United. I thought he was fantastic for Lyon. He's also one of those players that you see on Football Manager a lot of thinking, this guy's going to be good. Then you watch him play and you're like, this hairstyle is crazy. I could never do that with my hair. What he's done is incredible. On the pitch, he's been a very, very good player. And I said earlier this season as well, one of the most underrated players to watch in that Chelsea side, especially in an underperforming Chelsea side, but has been going about his business consistently. Absolutely fantastic player to put in as well. And for anyone listening as well, he was pre-signed before the summer, so it is his first season, so it does count as a summer signing from last season as well. So we have cleared that up for everyone to hear about as well. Right, number 6, and then we'll get into a segue about players who definitely don't make our list for the three of us as well. Number 6. I'm going to represent Manchester United for this one, and I'm going to let Anthony choose who he thinks I'm picking, because I know Anthony Hay also supports Manchester United. If I had to pick one player from Man United in this number 6 place, who do you think I'm picking and why?
For a summer signing?
Summer signing or January signing. We haven't signed anyone in January, but it's definitely not the bold one. That's what I'm saying. It's not Amrabat.
You haven't gone for Højlund, have you?
I have. Gone for
Really?
Rasmus Højlund. Yeah, man. Rasmus
Wow.
Højlund, 8 goals in the Premier League, 26 appearances as well. I think it's been absolutely fantastic in what we've seen. The fact that he's been leading the line in the Premier League after having half a season in the Serie A, the fact that he was an understudy to Anthony Martial. He couldn't even get into the team because Anthony Martial's just always injured. I think it's a really, really brave season from Rasmus Højlund. The criticism he gets, the performance that he puts on the pitch week in, week out. You'll see that our fullbacks are allergic to crossing the ball into him as well. Aaron Wan-Bissaka at left back doesn't even know how to use his left foot for a pass, let alone a cross. I'm sorry to say it, but it's been very annoying watching it at Old Trafford this season. But when we've seen the glimpses of brilliance, I can't not fault Rasmus Højlund. The potential is there for him to be a superstar, for him to be a maverick at Manchester United. And I've said it earlier this season that Man United really need to rebuild around Rasmus Højlund and Alejandro Garnacho in that attacking lineup as well. And this week, Ineos have said that a lot of their players for Man United are up for sale, but it doesn't include Højlund, Mainu, and Garnacho. So I'm really excited about this new project with Ineos because it looks like they're keeping someone who is only 20 years old as well. He's got a shooting accuracy of 56% as well. Can score with both feet. He can score with headers. He's someone who I think is just electric to watch. And when I get to watch him in person at Old Trafford as well, I think it's absolutely fantastic to appreciate what he does. And annoyingly, his teammates just can't find him. The system can't find a way to suit Rasmus Højlund. And remember last season as well, playing at Atalanta, he was playing with Lucas Muriel up front and Zapata for Atalanta in a really good system under Gasperini. And now he's playing under Erik ten Hag's system with 60 injuries over the season and open football where we're conceding 20 shots per game. And he's still scoring the goals, which is great to see. I'm a big fan of Rasmus Højlund, and I think he's going to be a superstar for Denmark at the European Championships as well. And I'm glad he's playing for Manchester United. But yeah, for the money that we've spent as well, I know we've spent a lot. I think he's going to become a really good player for Manchester United as well. But yeah, number 6, Rasmus Højlund for me. Right then, as we go into our segue before we get into our top 5 list, I'm going to name some players from my list of 20. I was saying before the recording, everyone, that I've got a list of 20 players that need to get into 10. And I'm going to list a few players here that definitely don't get into my top 5. So I'm going to see if you agree or disagree if they make it into my top 5, into your top 5 as well. So starting off, Matheus Cunha, is he making your top 5 for anyone?
No, not mine.
That's okay. That's good. João Pedro from Brighton.
He was on my reserve list.
Reserve list. Nice. Lewis? No?
No, he's not. He wasn't on mine.
That's fine. Milos Kerkez, Bournemouth.
Nope.
Nope, that's okay. This one I'm gonna segue into the top 5 because I'm gonna let people guess. Wataru Endō from Liverpool. So I'll let people think about it if they've got them on their list as well. But onto our top 5s, which would be good. Actually, no, that was very selfish of me. Were there any players that you couldn't get onto your list, Anthony and Lewis, before we move on to our top 5s? Anthony, start with you. Who did you get on your list that you haven't put on?
I was just writing a few down. I wrote down Barkley, and I wrote down Diaby as well from Villa, and I had Jonny Evans on there just because, as Lewis said, he's coming as a free signing, and he's probably been one of our most consistent centre backs. So he was on my list as well. And I wrote down Alanga just because he's made a bit of a difference at Forest, but he was nowhere near my top 10. I just wrote him down because I was writing down a few summer signings.
The other one I had from Nottingham Forest was Murillo, their centre back.
He was on my reserves as well.
Who else did you have on your reserves list?
So obviously spoiler for reserves, but I had Mac Allister as a reserve.
Alexis on the reserve. Oh, okay.
Cuffed me. Havertz also a reserve.
I understand why you put Havertz on there. I understand why that happened.
I've got reasons, but I'll delve into them later in the top 5.
That's fine. That's all good.
Keep the suspense. Let me see. I had Kudus, Adam Wharton. Let me see, because I've scribbled them out now as I've been going, so it's a little hard to read. But yeah, that's really it. Kudus, Wharton. Yeah, I think that's about it.
That's fine. That segues into our top 5, and I'll start with this one because at number 5 for me, Kai Havertz, proving a lot of people wrong. Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, proving me wrong, especially because I thought I have no clue what type of position Kai Havertz will shine in the Premier League, in a Premier League attacking team in the top 16. And it's doing it in the latter part of the season, in the running for Arsenal, which is incredible. 12 goals and 6 assists for Kai Havertz for Arsenal in his debut season for Arsenal. Champions League, he scored 1 goal. I think he's been a ghost in the Champions League, but the Premier League has been fantastic. He's put a lot of effort into regaining his form under Mikel Arteta as well. But yeah, Lewis, why didn't you have Kai Havertz on your list? Let me hear it. That's the main topic for me.
Mainly because, as it stands, Arsenal might have spent about 200 to 250 million to stand still, if that makes sense. So,
that makes complete sense, yeah.
So they've spent all this money on someone they don't really need in Kai Havertz, who's not an out-and-out goal scorer.
I think it's an improvement on Jesus and Nketiah for me. He's just a different type of player.
Definitely, but it's almost like an expensive Odion Ighalo, in my opinion. And that's not me saying Havertz is Odion Ighalo. That is me saying they've overspent on a position that is a stopgap position. Because you're telling me if Ivan Toney comes up in the summer and Arsenal like
Ollie Watkins,
you could probably get about 80 million, or Osimhen's going to cost the absolute most. But you're telling me he doesn't come in, Toney, and go straight in there over Havertz, and then he doesn't get in that midfield free either.
Outside choice, Gyökeres to Arsenal, that could be an option as well, which would be crazy. But yeah, no, and obviously being a Chelsea fan as well, did you expect this over the season for him to find his final position as a floating number 9, or what the hipsters like to say, an 8.5 in this Arsenal side as well? Did you expect this come up for Kai Havertz in the second part of the season from what you saw at Chelsea?
I can say yes because it's out there on my podcast at the start of the season when we was doing our predictions, and I said that I was actually gutted that he left Chelsea just because I think that he has so much potential if he's played in his right position, and it's almost like his position doesn't exist anymore, and that's a number 10.
Yeah.
If you look at the Premier League, no one really plays 4-2-3-1 or 3-5-2 or anything that really has a number 10. So I thought he would suffer from that, and it's almost the same story of, where's his best position? Because at Chelsea, that was also the thing. He played wide, he played midfield, he played false 9, he played literally everywhere. And then obviously he scores that goal in the Champions League final, which immortalised him in the history of the club forever. But I just think that I personally wouldn't have sold Kai Havertz because, I think he's such a talented footballer, and he is really good. It's the same with Mason Mount. I'll categorize it like this. They're both excellent, and they both have so much potential. But at the same time, They left Chelsea when we needed them the most, really, to stick around and as senior pros that have won something, and they basically wiped their feet on the way out. So they're dead to me at the same time. But they are still excellent footballers. And again, that's me putting it to one side. They are both fantastic.
Yeah. Easily put, I would say, from Lewis, which is great to see as well. Lewis, who did you have at number 5 in your top 5 list?
Yeah, so it's someone that's already been mentioned, so I won't actually spend too much time on it. I'll just add to it with a little bit of a stat. So it's Pau Torres, Hamz. So, like I said, you've already mentioned him on the pod, and with Aston Villa this season, when he doesn't play, they have a 33% win ratio, and when he does play, it's just short of 70%. So it just
That's
shows
mad.
the value that he's added to that side.
£40 million well spent, I would say. Anthony, number 5. Where did you go for this one?
So it's another player that's been mentioned already. I'm going for Van De Ven, number 5.
Nice.
I just think he's built up that relationship with Romero.
I've got a question for everyone now, which would be great. Sorry, carry on. I've got a question. This will be
go on,
good.
hit me.
I'll hit everyone. Actually, no. Yeah, I'll hit everyone. Start, bench, sell. Left-footed centre-back edition in the Premier League. Newcomers. Josko Gvardiol, Micky Van De Ven, Pau Torres. Anthony, hey, you're up first, my friend. Where are you going?
Wait, what was it again?
Start, bench, sell. Micky Van De Ven, Pau Torres, and Josko Gvardiol.
Starting Van De Ven.
Oh, nice. Why?
I just think his pace. Like the Premier League's all about athletics, pace, power, and he's got it all. So
got it all in his first season, which is great. But not lacking that technical ability that Pau Torres has, but I can see why you're going for starting Micky Van De Ven.
And
who would you bench?
I'd bench Guardiola, and then I'm selling Torres.
Okay, nicely done. Lewis, agree or disagree?
Fans out there.
For Salim, basically, when he wants to join us on the podcast, which would be cool. Lewis, agree or disagree with Anthony? Where would you go with this one? Start, bench, style.
Slight disagree, but I have reasons behind it. So I would sell Pau Torres as well.
Nice.
I would bench Van De Ven just because he has fitness problems. And then I would start Josko Gvardiol.
Nice. I'm going to stick with it. If I'm talking about just centre backs only, not left backs or floating defenders or inverted outfit, whatever we're talking about in terms of tactics, we're talking for a left-footed centre back. I'm going to start Pau Torres. I'm going to bench Josko Gvardiol. I'm going to sell Micky Van De Ven because I think he'd get me a lot of money in return, and also because of the fact that when you've got good defenders who can control the game and the ball a bit better than Gvardiol and Torres, I think that's more what I would look for in the type of team that I'd be looking for as well. That's a great segue as well. But no, continue, Anthony, about why Micky Van De Ven makes your top 5 in your signings of the season in the Premier League.
Oh yeah, I just think he's made a big difference to Tottenham. I know they've gone off the ball a bit, like going down to 5th place when they were in the top 4, but he's just been solid. I know he's had a few injuries, but as I said, the pace in the Premier League is so important these days, and he's got plenty of that. The fastest player in the Premier League this season. So yeah, 100%. He makes my list, and he comes in at number 5.
Nicely done. Lewis, number 4. Where are you going? Who's making your top 4? Who's getting Champions League for you?
Well, this guy might be getting Champions League, but his side definitely won't be, and he's just been spoke about. It is Van De Ven. And it is basically, just to reiterate the points from before, that he's made Spurs such a completely different side defensively, and he's aided the fact that they can play this high line, but when he doesn't play, it just shows that they can't play the high line. And for Ange, who has that philosophy, I think that's what could be the double-edged sword for Spurs at the minute, because of how vital Van De Ven is back there and how erratic Romero can be at times. So especially
Romero playing as a striker in the North London derby 3-0 down.
His position. When he scored, I was like, who's just scored? I was like, is that? And I was like,
composure on the finish as well. He's like, calmer, we're back.
Yeah, he could have took it. He could have took it about 2 yards further forward as well. He had so much time, and he took it like a seasoned pro. So yeah, credit to him.
He spiked it, which is great to see, which is really, really good as well. But yeah, number 4 was Micky. Anthony put Micky Van De Ven at number 5. And Lewis, have you said your number 5?
Yeah, so my 5 was Pau Torres.
Pau Torres, nicely done. Who was your number 4? And then you said 4 now.
Just said Van De Ven then.
You've gone Van De Ven, Torres. Let's see if Gvardiol makes your list. That's going to be a good topic for the next 3 as well. Anthony, who makes your 4th position? Who's getting Champions League for you?
Have you done your number 5 yet?
I did my number 5 at Kai Havertz.
Oh, Havertz. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my number 4.
Kai Havertz number 4. Go on, let me hear your reasoning as to why Kai Havertz makes Champions League for you, just like Arsenal will for next season.
Well, he came in with a bit of a bad rep. I don't think Arsenal fans were having him that much. The same with Mount going to...
Yeah, do you remember that video outside Arsenal Fan TV when they're like, Saudi Arabia, please take Kai Havertz? That guy must be extinct from the Emirates Stadium now. He's probably not going on any camera at all. What an awful thing to say, man.
Yeah, I like his character. I think he silenced his critics. Going from Chelsea to Arsenal is already quite tough, but he's done a really good job. And I actually think he will become a number 8 when they sign a top striker. So if they do sign Tony, I could see them having a midfield free of Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz. I think he'll just drop back. So yeah, I think he's one for the future as well. Was he 24? So he's got a lot of mileage in him. And yeah, I think he's been really good for them, playing as that emergency number 9, but he can also drift, play as a number 8 or a number 10. He's got it all, really. And I didn't think he would take Arsenal to the next level, but I think he's slightly raised their game a bit. So yeah, hats off to him.
Lewis, do you agree with Anthony about playing Kai Havertz as a number 8 in his future position going forward? Do you think that's where he's going to be settling under Mikel Arteta, or do you think it'll still be a stopgap striker as a false 9? Where do you see Kai Havertz's future at Arsenal Football Club, position-wise?
Weirdly enough, on the bench. And no, seriously, and I'm not saying that as like a
because Partey's come back as well. So Partey...
Well, it's a number of things, really. It's like I explained before, he is an improvement on Jesus, but he's not a striker. So if Arsenal do go out and they miss out on the league this year, and Edu goes, you know what, we do need a striker this year. We've messed around for 2 years now. Let's just go and get one, and they go and get Tony. Then Havertz comes back. But no Arsenal fan will tell you that Havertz is in their best midfield three. They would put Partey and Jorginho above him in that midfield three, because when Jorginho plays, Rice goes to another level. And that's
so Yaya Toure he does.
Honestly, bro, because Jorginho takes that much pressure off players, and he'll do that. He'll have the ball where other people don't want it, and he does that. And with Partey, he's a completely different player, but equally as good. He's a destroyer. He will literally smash people, pick up the petty fouls around the game, delay, stop, start. Yeah, just fantastic players. But I don't think Havertz gets in there. And like I said, the number 10 doesn't exist. And Odegaard, he will literally be Odegaard's rotation, I would probably say.
Like Fabio Vieira, but Vieira has not survived well at the Emirates Stadium as well, which is crazy to think about. I forgot he even existed. Vieira and Nelson are just forever bench players at Arsenal Football Club. My number 4, if we're going into the top 4, Alexis Mac Allister. I'm picking him. I think he's been fantastic for Liverpool. A real big reason as to why Jurgen Klopp has had such a big title charge this season, because of someone like Alexis Mac Allister, who I think is a wonderful player to watch. I don't know, when I first saw him at Brighton on TV before going to watch him at Old Trafford, I didn't know if he was going to be a 6, 8 or a 10 going forward. I thought he had everything about him as a complete midfield player. He was the kind of player I wanted Man United to sign when we signed Donny van de Beek a couple of seasons ago. But you're expecting that kind of impact from Donny van de Beek as opposed to someone from Argentina, who then came into Brighton, who then went on to win the World Cup, who then went on to move to Liverpool Football Club and replace some of their incredible... They lost, 6 midfielders last season? Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Fabinho, Henderson... Keita as well. Oh, he's always injured. And someone else. I've said Oxlade-Chamberlain, haven't I? But they lost a lot. Yeah, Henderson. So Henderson, Ox, Fabinho, Keita, yeah. I'll have to Google this one.
You say Milner?
Milner, that was it. Milner's the last one. James Milner. Good man. Milner went to replace Alexis Mac Allister in the end as well.
That's in the dressing room as well. Like you talk about on the pitch, like look at the dressing room personnel there. James Milner leaving the dressing room from
club all captain as well. Henderson for Saudi Arabia.
Like at City, like playing at the top level there. And then even players like Fabinho, who's obviously was so good for those couple of years. But yeah, mad.
Yeah, I know. 4 goals already in the league for Liverpool. He's got a lot of attacking players around him, but he's in such a creative, free-flowing team under Jurgen Klopp as well. And I think, for me personally, I'm not sure how he's going to fit in this on-slot system as well. I know we've been seeing a lot of these memes from Breaking Bad about him looking like a certain character from Breaking Bad, the new Liverpool manager in waiting, but I think it's still going to be an attacking style of play that they'll be bringing. From what I've seen from Feyenoord anyway, he's been fantastic as a manager there. But Alexis Mac Allister, welcome to number 4 for me, which will be good fun. Number 3, Anthony, where are you going?
I'm going for Mac Allister.
Number 3. Go on,
Yeah.
you can carry on with the Mac Allister hype. Why is it
Yeah,
number
I was
3?
just gonna say, where do you think his best position actually is? Because when he came through at Brighton, I did think he was going to be a number 10, but he seems to be slowly moving back first to a number 8. Now he's a bit of a number 6 holding. Like, where do you actually think his best position is?
I'd have him at number 8 personally if I've got Alexis Mac Allister. He's got the legs to go around the pitch. He's got that composure to slow it down if needs be as well. He can always have those late runs into the box as well. I'm not trying to say he's reminding me of a certain England midfielder who wore number 8 and scored a lot of goals from outside the box. But when you're looking at the way Mac Allister plays in this Jurgen Klopp side, it's because there's always another more attacking midfielder with him or a more attacking threat around him as well. So he's no longer having to be the focal point like he was at Brighton when he had Bissouma behind him and Modder behind him as well. I think now as number 8 going forward, I think will be absolutely fantastic as well. And we saw it in a 4-4-2 for Argentina at the World Cup, and it's going to be a big play for Argentina in the Copa America in the USA this summer as well. Lewis, how about you? Alexis Mac Allister's best position?
I think that because a lot of it's already been said between yourselves, I think that he does look better when he's got someone who'll do the dirty work next to him, where it can almost take the burden off him and free it up and become the ball player that he's known for. And a lot of people wouldn't have seen it this season. You mentioned then about him playing as a number 10 for Brighton. His final ball is excellent, and it's not been shown enough because he's been so far back this season at Liverpool. And I think if he can bulk up the squad a little bit, especially because they're going to have a form of Europe, probably the Champions League. I know Klopp was saying we might fall out. Oh, yeah, okay. But yeah,
Cry me a river.
They need to bulk it up. Yeah, they need to bulk it up. And to quote Ashley Young and Hamz there, cry me a river.
Nicely done. Lewis, number 3, where are you going?
Very on topic. We're staying in Merseyside. It is Wataru Endō. So,
number 3.
Yeah, number 3
nice.
again. I don't think
Nice.
Liverpool are in a title race without this guy. And I say that with a full heart of confidence. I think that he's replaced Fabinho and made him look like he's never even played for Liverpool. He's been that good. £8 million he cost, which when it was happening, it wasn't the most sexy signing, and everyone was going like, "Oh, who even is this guy?" And
it looked like a panic buy from the outside in. But Stuttgart, he came from Stuttgart, didn't he, Lewis?
So yeah, Stuttgart, and I just think that a lot of people looked at it and thought, "What are we doing here as a Liverpool fans?" But he's played 42 games in all competitions for him, so it just shows how much Klopp's lent on him this season. And I just think he's been so plug and play, and obviously the Bundesliga.
And he went to the Asia Cup as well, so he never stopped when he went away.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like the guy is a machine. £8 million. It's not the most sexy signing, and I genuinely believe he's probably played his way into a new contract at Liverpool, and his entourage could probably go back in there this year and say, yeah, we want more money because he's been excellent this season. And I think that Arne Slot will have a ready-made bargain in there for his midfield. And like I said earlier, trying to not give too much away because I knew Endō was coming up next, that Mac Allister will look so much better when he's got Endō doing all the dirty work. And Szoboszlai, if he's on form, I know he's had a really good half of the season and quite a poor half of the season, but if you can get 2 attacking 8s playing next to this guy, then, like I said, there's a reason Liverpool have been in a title race for 95% of the season.
Fellas, what are we doing here? We've got a Chelsea fan and 2 Man United fans bigging up Liverpool. This is not what I'm used to, but we are authentic in what we're talking about as well, which is fantastic as well. Anthony, number 3, where are you going with your one?
I've done number 3, haven't I? Mac Allister.
You had Mac Allister number 3. So
yeah.
Mac Allister number 3. I had Mac Allister number 4. Lewis, you had Endō number 3.
Yeah, I had Endō 3, Van De Ven 4, Pau Torres 5.
That's it. Pau Torres was 5. And number 3 for me, we're going to the East End of London. We are going to David Moyes' team, Europa Conference winners of last season. We are going for their Ghanaian star boy, who they have adored all season, and I've adored him much more than Erik ten Hag adored him when he thought, you know what, we need a winger. Should we go for Kudus or Anthony? Kudus or Anthony? Kudus or Anthony? He went for Anthony instead because he thought, you know what, I had a good dance with him after I won the cup in the Netherlands as well, but I didn't have a dance with Kudus because Kudus was a bit more like, yeah, you know what, I can do a bit more than this, and has done a lot more than this season. I've just loved watching him play. Like, I'm a bit annoyed that they lost to Bayern Leverkusen. I know Mr. Hay has leaked the time we record Friday Night Counter-Attack and the day, but today, time of speaking, Roma are going to be playing Bayern Leverkusen later, and I wish it would have been Roma versus West Ham because we would have seen more Mohammed Kudus in European football. Celebrations iconic. I'm a big fan of the fact that when Muslim players are playing football and they fast as well. That was a really funny topic of conversation. It was fasting during Ramadan, and the interview asked, "Why didn't you sit down on the stool?" He's like, "Because I was tired. I was tired. I've been fasting all day." I found that hilarious, man. But I think he's just such a show-stopping footballer to watch, and there are so many teams that will be looking at a right winger, a left winger, an attacking midfielder, and a striker. This man can do all four positions at such a top level as well. I'm really impressed with Mohammed Kudus, especially coming from the Eredivisie as well. A lot of players will go from the Eredivisie and fail, but I said it earlier this season in terms of he reminds me of when Arjen Robben came from PSV Eindhoven. We're all old enough to remember when that happened to Chelsea in that first season. He was just electric. He was buzzing off both wings, and he could play in that system that Jose Mourinho conceded very few goals and lost no games at Stamford Bridge. Mohammed Kudus, if he's in a better team in the next couple of seasons, he could go all the way for me. He goes right to the very top of world football. But I can't speak enough about Mohammed Kudus as well, which is great. We may as well call Friday Night Counterattack the Mohammed Kudus fan club with the way I've been talking about him. Now we're on to the top two. Lewis, number two, where are you going with yours?
Yeah, so it's a guy that's briefly been spoken about but hasn't been chosen as of yet, and that is Declan Rice. So
we did briefly speak about him. That's fine. The way you worded it, I was like, did someone put him 8 or something? Like, definitely not.
It was when we was talking about the Havertz position.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Of course. So go ahead. Declan Rice at number 2.
Yeah, so I put him at number 2 just because I think that whoever signed this player was so lucky. Just because I think that he's an absolute gem as a footballer. He does the basics well, and then some. I would say is my description of Rice, and he does them so well consistently every week. He's never really injured. His leadership qualities are second to none, really. I think he's a future Arsenal captain as well, potentially even a future England captain. I would go as far to say.
I like that shout.
In that midfield, and I just think that his attitude, every team would want him, and there's not a side in the world I think he doesn't get into. I think he's that good. He can hold, he can play as an 8 as he's evolved into this season, but again, he falls into the category of players that I really like and appreciate that have joined teams that I absolutely despise and hate. So Declan Rice, you are an incredible footballer. It's a shame you had to go and join Arsenal. But my only point I will say about Arsenal, again, I mentioned it briefly earlier, is they might have spent 250 million to stand still. But Declan Rice for 105 million is worth every single penny.
Nah, that's a great point there as well. Anthony, number 2, where are you going with this one?
I'm going for the same person. Declan Rice, number 2.
Okay.
I can't believe Man United didn't sign him. Like, I really wanted him at United. I think he would have been perfect for us. He could have been.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer recently said as well. Sorry to cut you off there, but he recently said on the Gary Neville Stick to Football or the Overlap podcast, he said, I wanted Declan Rice. I wanted Jude Bellingham. I wanted Erling Haaland. But we never got that opportunity. That would have been crazy to see Haaland, Bellingham. Even if we had Rice, Pogba, Fernandes at the time would have been unreal. We wouldn't have had to spend that money on Casemiro. We would have built for the future. We would have improved on what we had. The what ifs are crazy, man. Absolutely insane. Go ahead. Talk to us more about Declan Rice.
Yeah, no, I know he was 105 million. It's a lot of money, a hell of a lot of money. But we spent 70 million. When I say we, I'm on about Man United, obviously. We spent 70 million on Casemiro. But when
40 on Van de Beek.
Yeah, when you take into account wages, and Casemiro's only really lasted 1 season, 1.5 seasons, and we're going to have to sell him in the summer now for a big loss. So it would have been worth it just spending that money on Declan Rice. I know maybe he wanted to stay in London. He probably would have chosen Arsenal over us anyway, but I think him in that number 4, number 6 position where he just holds, and he can even play as a number 8 as well. I think he's got it all. And he would have been a top signing for Man United, but he's been a top signing for Arsenal. And if they do win the league, he's played a big role in that.
Do you agree with Lewis when he said he could get into any team in the world in that position as the holding midfielder?
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's that many around who can go head to head with Rice. I know, obviously, the price tag is a big thing, but he's been top class for Arsenal. And he's a leader as well. In that dressing room, you need those leaders, something that Man United have been lacking. A lot of the other Premier League clubs are lacking, but you can tell he's got that personality. He's good with the media. He's just got that all-round package for England and Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I liked about was when he fought back against some of the media pundits as well, talking against Roy Keane and Graham Souness. He was like, "Oh yeah, why are they complaining about me not getting goals when my game isn't about goals?" I like the fact that he stood up for himself as well. And a lot of players, for me, in my opinion, should be doing that, especially if they're playing Premier League football week in, week out. They should stand up against what people are saying about them, rather on the internet, but most importantly in mainstream media, because that goes a long way in terms of showing a character of what a person's really about going forward as well. Number two for me, sorry fellas, I'm breaking the list. Cole Palmer is at number two for me. Absolutely sensational footballer as well. I know Lewis is internally screaming, but I just think, you know what? The other person that we've just mentioned is head and shoulders above. I think he's become world class this season, but Cole Palmer, and you're looking at how Tim Sherwood asked him, he was like, "How are you doing at Chelsea?" He said, yeah, I'm doing good. It's like the players around you aren't helping you. You need some better players around. He kept his composure there. He kept classy. He kept not so much media trained, but he kept classy about his wits, which was good to see as well. There are a lot of things that you look at footballers where he could easier thrown his teammates under the bus publicly. He could have said, "Yeah, Jackson's crap. Yeah, Madueke's crap. Yeah, they're fighting me for penalties. It's crazy. Gallagher can't play a through ball to save his life." But he kept it classy on the pitch and off the pitch as well. I think it's been an absolute revelation. The fact that it was, what, 40 million to Chelsea? Best signing for Chelsea. I can't remember the last time I saw a signing from Chelsea. I thought, you know what a great deal overall this has been. Some signings have been fantastic. Maybe Thiago Silva on a free transfer. That's a really, really good deal from Chelsea a couple seasons ago as well. But his finishing's fantastic. The fact that he's such a technical player that holds onto the ball so well, his through balls are fantastic. His key passes are incredible as well. And for me, that goal that crushed my heart in that, was it 4-3 or 5-4 game? At
4-3
Stamford,
was it?
4-3 reminded me of so many times when Man United have done that to other teams. And it's like, oh my God. But instead it was, oh my God, Cole Palmer doing it again. But it's just everything you want in a modern English footballer. Silky, got the flair, got the character about him as well. Honestly, you can't hate Cole Palmer for what he's done this season. And for me, second best signing in the Premier League for me. I know the two of you will be going on to Cole Palmer as number one, unless you're going for a rogue shout. I have review as well. But Lewis, take it away. Your Cole Palmer as number one prediction. That's my prediction. Is it Cole Palmer number one? I'm sure it is, right?
It is Cole Palmer, mate. It is Cole
Nice one.
Palmer. And I just think that he's exceeded all expectations put on him, and 23 goals, 13 assists. So he's double digits for goals and assists in his debut season for a brand new club. I remember initially I listened to an interview he did where he said he'd really struggled to adapt from Manchester to London, and he didn't really know anyone there. And now you see him literally going out after scoring a hat-trick against Man United at like D Block Europe concerts, just going out like in public, just like
Were you there as well?
I wasn't there, mate, unfortunately. I do like D Block Europe though. But unfortunately, I wasn't there. But he's looked so much more settled now. Not only does he need to go to the Euros, he needs to start for England in the summer.
Where'd you start him? Right
Number
wing?
10.
Number 10.
Yeah, number 10.
So
I
Bellingham, Rice,
very
Palmer.
quickly, I do Bellingham, Rice, Palmer. I play Foden off the left. I play Saka off the right, and I play Harry Kane through the middle.
Nice.
You're
Sorry,
telling me we can't beat Serbia with that team. I'm telling you we spank them with that team.
I'm saying we draw 0-0 with them, and then Saka goes down the camera. That's what home fans do. Don't give you. It's like, where's the loyalty? Like Wayne Rooney did against Algeria. It's going to be the case as well.
But yeah, back to Palmer quickly, like you said, great business, 40 million plus 5 if Chelsea win something significant, which might be a while. But what's mad is he's getting a new contract, which is crazy. And another thing I don't know if you guys knew is he didn't actually put a goal bonus in his contract because he just wanted to play football, he said, to Pochettino.
Now we can renegotiate it because he's been keeping
Yeah,
that
now he's
goal
like,
contribution.
I want $1 million a goal now, Poch, because
I am the captain right now. I'm getting your fans into seats because of what I'm doing. It's incredible to see what he's done. Literally carrying the team on his back. Anthony Hay, who's your number one? Is it a surprise choice or are we going for Cole Palmer? Or as we like to say, Cole
My
Palmer.
number one choice plays for Man United and it's Mason Mount. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Look at your face.
I had no clue you had that humor in you, that dark humor, Anthony Hay. That's not a racist joke, by the way. That's not a racist joke. No one's cancelling me for racism, but that dark humor. Mason Mount. That's like, oh no.
Imagine. I'm not that deluded. There can only be one number one, and that's Cole Palmer, as Lewis said. I know you've got our number 1 and 2 the other way around, Hamza, but for me, Cole Palmer, at the age of 20, scoring 20 Premier League goals, as you're doing the cold celebration, he's been another level. Like, I remember when he signed for Chelsea, was it for 40 million?
Yeah.
I obviously work in journalism, and we were thinking, why the hell are they signing him for 40 million? Is he going to be another bench player for them? But to come in and do what he's done at that Chelsea team this season when they're so underwhelming has been madness. And I agree, he has to go to Germany this summer.
Does he start for you?
Yeah, I think you have to start him now. I think I agree with Lewis. Even ahead of Saka, maybe, because Saka's fallen off a bit. So I think you have to find a
had
way.
his best ever season, stats-wise. Do you think he's just been better playing?
I think he just looks a bit tired maybe the last few weeks. And Cole Palmer's on the
He's
rise.
got a lot of ulcers in his mouth as well, having the Saka sauce. Too spicy. Too fiery for him.
But yeah, I think find a way for Palmer to start for England.
Serious question to the both of you. Have either of you tried that Bukayo Saka sauce from Nando's?
I've tried it.
Is it good?
Yeah, I've tried it.
Yeah, I like it. It's like a barbecue garlic sauce, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, it's like quite sweet. It's good.
I can talk about these things because it came out during Ramadan. I was like, why are they promoting a sauce during Ramadan? That's bad business, man.
I saw him. Aren't they in talks with Mainu to get one as well? Didn't he getting a sauce as well? Kobe Mainu.
Oh God! Stop giving people sauces. I know we like to say he's got the sauce, but genuinely, stop with the sauces.
I don't know, bro. Give Cole Palmer a sauce. Get him in there. He's got Caribbean roots. Get him in there.
It's true. He's got Caribbean roots as well. Give him a reggae line, which would be great to see as well. I've still got that in my cupboard somewhere. Reggae is a decent sauce as well. Another topic for another day to talk about our favorite sauces. Someone who has all the sauce in North London. We are going to maybe the sauciest defensive midfielder in the Premier League. We're not talking about Rodri. We're talking about Declan Rice. For me, this was a season where Declan Rice became world class. A lot of West Ham fans I know have been talking about how he's been incredible, but the fact he's been doing it at the top level, that last-minute goal against Manchester United, the commanding performances had against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium, he's been so disciplined in his tactical awareness. And I know a lot of people are like, Hamz, it's just Declan Rice. He's expected. I'm like, no. It's not expected to become £100 million bargain, £105 million, and Arsenal fans are saying, oh, we should pay West Ham more. Oh, we robbed them. The last time that happened was when Cristiano Ronaldo was sold to Real Madrid for £80 million, and Man United fans were like, yeah, they robbed us. I'm like, yeah, they did rob us. West Ham fans are feeling robbed by the fact that West Ham, they're no longer in the Europa League. They're going through another turmoil end of season with David Moyes, and Declan Rice was that glue. Where you're looking at Arsenal now. What did they lack last season? The glue in the middle of the glue in the middle of the field, because Declan Rice has that about him. He's got that quality to deliver set pieces at a high standard. He can score from set pieces. He can score in clutch performances. Goal against Luton, goal against Manchester United. World-class talent that we've got on our hands as well. And all season, we've been talking about Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Bukayo Saka. Declan Rice is of that ilk. And like Lewis said earlier as well, I'm sure Anthony would agree as well, future England captain when Harry Kane eventually retires as well. He might even be vice-captain, if I remember correctly. Or is it still Jordan Henderson? I'm not too sure. Does anyone know?
I think it's still Henderson, but it depends on the squad, obviously. But if Henderson doesn't make it, then yeah, Rice will be vice-captain, I would have thought.
Nicely
done. Him or Maguire, surely, because I'm pretty
Walker,
sure
maybe.
Or Stones even.
Oh, yeah. Walker as well. I think Walker's won the armband. I think they have that senior leadership team rather than like.
Yeah, they have 5, don't they? Yeah, they have like 5 where it could be
Walker, Maguire, Kane, Henderson, Rice.
Yeah, probably those.
Stones maybe as well, like we mentioned as well. But I think that concludes a very, very good conversation and a very, very good top 10 list for each of us as well. I want to say thank you both to Lewis and to Anthony for sharing their lists as well. 3 different lists. Unlike normal, we didn't have to share our notes. We didn't have to conspire with one another because we made it as authentic and genuine as possible to ourselves as well. We're not looking to, well, besides Anthony, who's looking to keep his job in football journalism as well by having a bit of a reputation of getting the right players in. Lewis and I, we went a bit rogue with our choices, and I don't mind it at all, which is good. Before we wrap up, I want to say thank you very much to both Lewis for his time and his efforts for this conversation, and very much a big thank you to Anthony here as well. Hopefully we'll be meeting across the summer as my university time will be over and I've got more time to spend going to play golf or watching football or whatever we're doing as well. But before we wrap up and you get your outros, Lewis and Anthony, I would like you each to read off your top 10 list for us. So Lewis, again, thanks for your time. What was your top 10 list? 10 to 1.
Oh, bloody hell. I'm just going to have to go and get my notes. I'm quiet.
I've got on the order already.
I was going to say, I've been scribbling them out as I've been going. So I've got a very tattered list. So you'll have to bear with me. And maybe you're better go first, mate.
Okay. I've got my list in front of me.
Nice.
So I've got number 10, Chris Wood. Number 9, Adam Wharton. I've got Maddison, number 8, Kudus, 7, Vicario, 6, Van De Ven, number 5, Havertz, number 4. And then to round off my top 3, I've got Mac Allister of Liverpool, number 3, Declan Rice, number 2, and Cole Palmer, number 1.
Who is the best signing of the season? Cole Palmer is winning right now at number 1. Lewis, have you got your 10? Have you got your 10 list? Remember, Cole Palmer's at 10 for you, if I remember correctly. Wasn't it, Anthony? Who's at 10? Cole Palmer's 10.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it.
You're on mute.
Mute again.
Sorry, that's just my Zoom etiquette.
It's okay.
Yeah, so my top 10, I've got Jeremy Doku at number 10. Then I have Morgan Rogers at number 9, Eddson Alvarez at number 8, Jonny Evans at number 7, Malo Gusto at number 6, Pau Torres at number 5, Micky Van De Ven number 4, Endō number 3, Declan Rice number 2, and Cole Palmer number 1, of course.
Cole Palmer number 1 as well. So that's 2 for Cole Palmer at number 1. My 10 to 1, Josko Gvardiol number 10, Luton's Ross Barkley, Pau Torres number 8, Micky Van De Ven at number 7, Rasmus Højlund at number 6, Kai Havertz at number 5, Alexis Mac Allister at number 4, Mohammed Kudus at number 3, Cole Palmer at number 2, and Declan Rice at number 1 as well. Great work, everyone. Great work with your top 10 list as well. Before we wrap up, Anthony, any plans for the summer before the season comes to a close? Are you going to the Champions League final in London? Are you off to the Euros? Are you on holiday? What's the plan for the summer, my friend?
Well, I'm hoping to go to the FA Cup final, even if we are going to get a beating, but I'll be there, hopefully, if I can get a last-minute ticket.
Nice.
I'm just going to be busy at work, to be honest, the last 3 weeks of the Premier League season, and then we quickly turn our attention to the Euros in Germany. I won't be there, but I'll be working from London on the Euros. So, yeah, it should be an exciting summer.
If you need anyone to help you with your work, you know you've got 2 people available if you need to make production notes as well, which would be great fun indeed. But great to have you back on again, Anthony, and hopefully we'll have more conversations over the summer again, which would be great. Lewis, thank you very much for your time. As always, pleasure to have you on the podcast. What is your podcast up to this summer, and what's your plans for the summer before we get into the European Championships?
Yeah, so again, first and foremost, thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to come and chat about football with you guys. Obviously,
love it.
We don't get to do it as much as we'd like, so I do cherish the time that we have. So, like I said, thank you very much for having me. The pod, we've only got a few game weeks left, I believe, 3 weeks of the Premier League left. So when that comes, we're going to have a brief little break before the Euros, and then it'll be a podcast, I want to say, every 4 or 5 days after that for the Euros. So keep an eye out for that one on the Cookie Podcast Network, and yeah, wherever you can find us on social media.
Fantastic. Lovely stuff as well. Right then, everyone, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate your time, conversation, and general ball knowledge as well was incredible today, which was absolutely fantastic as well. Normally I say this when the conversation has ended and the recording has ended, but I'm keeping it in because it was a very nice change of pace, which is good fun. Anthony, Lewis, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Take care, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.